Hey there, Norm. It's a nice profile picture. Tonight, I'm working on some sketches for the upcoming Rhode Island Comic Con. I try to have a bunch of pre-done pieces for people to pick up that don't want to wait for commissions, stuff like this. Oops, bumped the camera. How you doing? But yeah, I figured I try to have one of each because I've obviously worked on the Tick and Ninja Turtles and a whole bunch of stuff. And Rhode Island tends to be a much more celebrity-centric show, and the fans that attend are more interested in at least in my experience, commercial characters. Well, welcome aboard. We hang out, we talk comics. Usually a handful of folks pop into the stream, some regulars, and we keep each other company, talk about comic stuff. Sometimes it veers into hockey and just general art discussion, but it's we try to keep it light, keep it fun. You reading any good comics these days, or check out any cool movies? Yeah, and you never know. I never know quite how far I'm going to get on, the night's drawing. Sometimes we finish it, sometimes we don't. I always post whatever the finished piece is um, on my various social medias when I get it done. It will be a Ninja Turtle, yes. Yes, when it's done. Right now, it's just a bunch of squiggles and blobs, and I'm just kind of chunking out the shape. I got the line of action that I wanted here. His arm will be coming forward and the sword coming this way. I try to have something going on. I get bored drawing the same sketch over and over again, where they're standing still. Yeah, and I've worked on like the IDW TMNT books and stuff. I tend to draw my turtles a little chunkier because I grew up in the 80s, and then the 90s. It's been a few years since a few years, maybe 2 years since I've done a cover or something for them, but it's something that people usually ask for when I show up at a convention, and if I have them pre-done, people are able to check out the rest of the show and not have to wait on me to draw another one. Other news from me, I just put in my application for my pro badge at San Diego. Um, yeah. One of the things was is that I got all my stuff together to hopefully get my pro badge for San Diego. I've got some conventions for next year already getting lined up in some new cities, which is exciting. Um, it's nice when I find it very rewarding when a convention and such wants to have me as a guest, and they treat you nice and come in and check stuff out and meet new fans, new stores, new everything. So, and I like checking out shows in new parts of the country that I haven't necessarily done a show at yet. I will say I've had a bunch of people ask me about doing a show in Florida, and I have not booked a show in Florida, so I can't say where I'm going yet. But thank you. Yeah, as a mostly independent comic creator, it's nice when they look at your work and say, yes, we would like to have you come to our show and draw for our fans and such. It's a nice feeling. His hand's going to be coming, wrist turn, hands coming forward. Yeah, and it's been a tough since the been a tough road for a little while. So it's good to get some good news and get things going. And it's crazy how early you've got to apply to these things now. Like years, like a year in advance is not unprecedented. Oh, it was tough for everybody. Getting gigs and you know yeah, I mean, there was a period of time where the whole comics industry shut down, and they told everybody pencils down. I wasn't the only person who was having a rough go, and there's only a handful of folks that really only do indie comics, full time, and we all know each other, so and we all try to help each other. My buddy Chris got me a couple of gigs. I got him a couple of gigs at the time, and it's one of the good things about the community, and it's another reason why it's good to go to different shows and meet different people. You never know who you can help out in the future, or who's gonna help you out. Hey Desiree, what's shaking? Yeah, Norm. Sometimes some of the other tick creators will pop in. Jeff McClellan, one of the writers, pops in. Eli Stone pops in from time to time. He wrote and drew the Karma Tornado stuff, and was it Big Blue Destiny? Not Karma Tornado. Hey, there's Doug. I'm sorry about the Padres. Phillies just look like the team of destiny. Padres got a pretty good team, so they should be back. Just tired. You've been working all day. I'll blame the Phillies. Yeah. It was a good idea, the Red Sox, to let Kyle Schwarber go, wasn't it? Yep. Great idea. Fantastic idea. Good job. Good job, management. That was great, great, great roster management there. Desiree, I got my application in for my pro badge for San Diego, so hopefully I will be out on the left coast, hanging out, making runs to the wondrous taco truck. I wish the Padres would stay in town for a home game, like I don't know, like on Wednesday or something before the convention. But I understand why they want to not be there for that. Open registration. I think that's Saturday. Saturday. I think that's when that is. It's surprising. You always have stories and interviews going on. Oh, so next Saturday. Yeah. Okay. I actually got a text message from Jeff McClellan, like at I don't know, late morning. And he was like, "Go to the website now. They got the open reg open. I get registration open for the pros." I guess they did it without announcing it, which that's. I don't know what it is. I like drawing happier Ninja Turtles. They're always so growly. I think it's because I watched too much of the cartoon show. Hey, Jonathan. See, had I known, I didn't know. Yeah, I just applied for the one badge. They said you could apply for another one, but I didn't know. You should bug. Actually, seriously, Desiree, you should bug Polio Bob. He might be able to help you out. Norm, I always think of which turtle because they all have different personalities, and I try to reflect that in their body language or their expression. Also, their heads are all a little different shape. I know it's like subtle, but um, You can just DM me after the stream. I'm sure Bob won't mind. You guys are pals. I'll definitely be applying for a table, so fingers crossed. I don't know when those applications open, but I'll, for my own artwork, I'll be trying to get a spot because NEC's been skipping the show the last few years. So yeah, I would take either Artist Alley or small press. You know, I've had friends in both, and they've all done very well. And if we get the space, then we get to start applying for like doing an Undersea Hero exclusive. So it's like one thing after the next. We got first step was getting our pro registration done. The next step was applying for the pro badge, and then whenever the registration opens for tables and such, then then it'd be applying for doing a exclusive. I know a couple of pretty talented and well-known artists that would be interested in doing a con exclusive variant cover, I believe. Yeah, we've been working on making that happen again. I know I should be talking about Rhode Island because that's this week, but or this not this weekend, the following weekend. That's the next show. But that's what I'm doing this for. So I am working on things for that show while we're chatting. Yeah. Sent in the app for the pro badge, and I've read that if your registration's up to date, you get a badge, but I don't. I'm too timid to be like, oh yeah, definitely going. I've had too many things go wrong in my comic book career to take it for granted that it'll just be an automatic. But the order went through, and they said they'd let us know for sure with everything shortly. So yeah, because I definitely have a exclusive of yours from San Diego. I don't know what year it's from, but I definitely have one. Well, Undersea Hero, it's not. I would say it's not rated anything heavy. Like it's not like Helena. There's not any gore or anything, any nudity. But I'll definitely apply. I'll send it in and be like, hey, this is a new self-made, all ages appropriate comic that I'm doing. Because my buddy Sean was able to do one for his book a few years ago, the last time I was there. So um, the last one before the pandemic began. But for Rhode Island, you know, Acts of Helena. Yep. I do make print copies of the individual issues. I don't distribute them very widely, but I do plan on when I'm about 2/3, 3/4 done with the next issue. When I get to a trade's worth, I'm going to kickstart it, and that'll be the first time that people can order the whole first arc. I do the single issues for myself, really. They're not a big moneymaker or anything. They just I distribute them at conventions, and there's a couple of local stores that put them on the shelves for me. I used to, with my old Fat Cat Funnies books, I used to, really travel and self-distribute and just call. I would cold call stores and be like, "Hey, you want to carry?" At the time, I did a book called Biomass, and I did another one called Small Town Type, and it was really like looking back, it's a little pretentious, but it was kind of an essay comic narrative about like just the superhero archetype in general and how it applied to like people who lived in different parts of the country. People who lived in the city and people who lived in small towns, and how they would view that or not view it. But yeah, I used to load up the car. I would call, my dad was a traveling furniture salesman. So like, I used to learn from him that you call ahead, you show up, you wear nice clothes, and tell them about what you're doing. And I would tell you, like, I was never a hard seller, but a lot of stores really do like to support independent artists. They really do. Um, I definitely had a few. There was one actually south of Boston, I'd say about 20 minutes south, on 95. I won't name the store. I don't even know if it exists anymore. But I remember I called ahead, and they said, "Yeah, come on down. We'll take a look at your books." And I brought my books. I always did a sketch for the store, whether they carried the book or not, and I had my contact info, and we chatted and we talked comics. And he looked at my comics and he closed it, and he said, you know, it's nice. You did a good job putting it together. But I'm going to tell you the same thing that I told Ed McGuinness. No, thank you. We only carry mainstream books. So, like, this was a guy that knew before I got in the car and went to the effort to go there that he wasn't going to carry the book. And, he seemed proud that he turned down Ed McGuinness's self published books from when he was first starting out. The other thing that I do as well with Acts of Helena is if you go to fatcatfunnies.com, you can read the pages from issue 1 for free. And once I get enough colored pages in the can, colored and lettered pages in the can, I'll start posting the issue 2 pages for free in there too. Helena was a book that I actually took to San Diego with me, and I had 2 companies that were interested in it before the pandemic. And once the pandemic hit, it disappeared pretty much. So I already had the first issue mostly done. So I was like, screw it, I'll just put it out myself. And once we get to the point where there's a trade, I might reach out to Diamond, and I've got plenty of friends who list in Diamond, and see if they'd want to carry it, because it'll have work by Rich Buckler, Joe St. Pierre, Daryl Banks, Mike Bosberg, Ralph Reese. It'll have a bunch of really well-known artists in it. Eli's got a piece that'll be in the next issue. I'm trying to get Gabe to do one for me. We'll see if he will. Yvel Guichet did a piece for me. I've been very lucky. I've got a great one by Mr. Douglas Paskovich there. Of course he's out of business. Of course he is. I understand, like, do I sell print issues through the mail? I do have like combo deals on my website, But because I have to pack and ship everything, I kind of have like a minimum. Like if I'm not making $10, I don't make a trip to the post office. And I know that that sounds like petty, but like it's a lot of work to pack and ship stuff away from creating. But if you go on there, I think the cheapest one is like you get the Helena book and the Red Sonja book on encnichols.com. I think for like $20, and the shipping's included on everything in my website. There's no additional shipping cost. I just factor it into the price. That's why everything's a little like if you see me at a show, everything's a little cheaper than it is on my website because I don't got to ship it to people. I also have sketch covers, of course. I will never make self-publish a book again without making sketch covers because it makes it worthwhile, and I like doing them, especially when they're on like good stock. And when I make them myself, I do spend a lot of extra money to get the better paper. Um, the paper that I use is almost like the same as this Bristol. It's very close, same finish. Takes ink really well. Takes watercolor. Takes markers. If anybody on the stream is interested, I can send you the contact info for that printer. They do a really, really good job with their stapled comics. Their trade paperbacks, not so much, but their staple comics that they do in house, they do a terrific job. And it's the best sketch cover stock I've ever worked with. And they actually sent me samples, which that was great. That was old school. I mean, there's two printers that I work with, and one of them is a printer I worked with when I worked for a book publisher in Boston. I worked there for a number of years, called Robinson Anderson out of California, and it's a huge print house. They do tons of work, and one of the guys there just loves comics, so he has a little comics division that he started. And they, Robinson Anderson, they charge a little more, but I've never ever had a problem with color coming out well. They always calibrate their gear, which is a rare thing. Like I've had so many prints show up at my house where they didn't clean the printer or calibrate it. And these are these prints that I had made. I found an online printer that did them really cheap, but on really good stock. Like it's not a cheap print. It's 14-point heavy stuff, matte finish, and I've got 50 of them for Rhode Island that I'll be giving away at the show. First come, first serve. Yeah, and they also, of course, and it makes perfect sense that you can just pick it up there. Free pickup in California. Jim and the guys, yeah, I'll give you the referral. They're good peoples. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, they came out pretty good. And the definitely the Ben Day dots from my software, they print pretty nice. Looks old school. And actually, if you look real close, you can see that I shifted the printing plates a little bit. I shifted the cyan plate down and to the left, and you can actually see it like throughout the whole thing. It's consistent because that's all on the same layer. You can see the little bit of blue there and blue sticking out on the side. That's like ultra nerdy comic stuff. If you're like, oh man, I want to shift the printing plates. Thanks, man. Yeah, I think the ones that you got were from the one in Florida, the one that does the really good sketch covers. Um, Robinson Anderson does do sketch covers, but the stock is a little lighter. It's fine for just like pen and ink, but I would say if you're going to use like watercolor or anything like that, I wouldn't recommend it. And I've mentioned that to the guys, and they understand. It's not just I sing their praises, but I don't want to like mislead someone. I felt really bad when I referred someone to a printer, and they just were really unhappy with them. They ordered something that I'd never ordered from them before, and let's see how we're doing. Looks okay. My brother actually sent me a real nice hat. He works in minor league baseball. We've talked about him before, but that's the team he works for. That's the other cool news. I can show you the page I was working on since most everybody's here. Here's the next page of Helena that I was working on. This is right after she's getting poked in the chest by this guy, and Saga knows that like that's bad. This is as I'm transferring it from the initial layout. Here's the layout, and you can see like other ladies acting tough, guys acting tough, and there's like gross spit coming out of his mouth, and then he basically says like, "What good are you? What'll you do to help us?" And she uses her axe to smash this big rock into pieces that's right here, and the Finn man over there is like, "Oh no, it's so loud," um, and he's like, "Maybe you're not as useless as I thought." And then here's the guy with the little kiwi bird looking at him. So, but that's the next page. Oh, thank you, Norm. That's very nice of you. One of the things I've had to relearn lately is sometimes when I get nervous, and this was one of the reasons I mentioned that I was drawing with confidence the other day, is that when I'm not drawing with confidence, I tend to have a more dead line because I feel like I have to like connect and like overly stifle everything. Um, oh, thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, it reads left to right, and I always like to play with the um, vertices that connect the panels. I don't find it difficult to read, but I understand that people do. So I make sure that when I'm doing the layout, the initial thumbnail, that if you read the speech bubbles, their placement is. If I do a complex layout, the speech bubbles have to be way more simplified in their placement and way more obvious. Like I was just reading a book the other day where there was a character, and I kid you not, um, we had a panel where we had a character in the foreground like this. And then we had a character in the background like this, classic, like walking away. You'd think that no, we had one speech bubble like this, and then one speech bubble like this. And then for some reason, instead of just making this like bigger or having two connecting bubbles, they put a bubble right here, like in front of their stomach. And then there was even another one right here. So it was literally like this was speech bubble one, and it connected to this person. This was speech bubble 2 here, 3 here, and then 4 down here, almost touching the bottom. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, or do you read it 1, 2 here and then up? Just depends on like if he's speaking twice and then this one's, it was nonsense. Nonsense, I say. No flare pen on sketches. Seriously, it was crazy. Like putting the one in front of his stomach was the most confusing aspect of that. And maybe it was a deadline thing. Maybe they just handed it to whatever kid was, delivering the coffee that morning to be like, hey, can you letter these? I don't know. Doug, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I had no idea what the hell was going. It was an older comic. It was. It was not one of my new giant stack of Conan that I bought. For those that follow me on Twitter. Boom. A little over $1 a piece. There's a great Michael Golden cover, and there's a Simonson cover where he's like fighting a giant owl. And then there's a great Michael Golden cover. A little over $1 a piece. Anytime I see the description reader copies, that's when I'm like, all right, we can talk. Douglas, I actually even lettered my own stuff and they didn't use it. And I've pointed stuff out to like where it messes up the reading order. Like they'll have, the tick talking. And then like a bubble from the next panel below will break this panel, like lower on the page. And then you'll have the next panel here, and then a bubble that goes above. Yeah. And do you read, 1, 2, 3? But this is panel 1, this is panel 2, this is panel 3. He drew some insane stuff, seriously. Yeah. I had a bad day, and I was like, a little bit of a. I don't have time to like go to comic stores as often as I used to. I used to be like a every Sunday kind of cat, and I go buy some dollar comics, but it's been a while since I've had the ability to do that. a little bit of a clog in here, I think. There we go. I think I got it. Also, like, and Douglas, I'm sure you can speak to this. Inking requires to have even like just a little bit of confidence. If you're having a bad day, or at least when I am, my inking just goes flat and it's just no good. But there are some days where you just don't have a choice. I'm probably left hanging, Norm, but that's okay. I will find a dollar bin. I will find other ones. The good thing about Conan was, though, back in the day, there was very little continuation. Um, like if you read all the issues, you got little bonuses in the story, but it was definitely wasn't necessary. Like the two issues that I was reading the other day were both by Bruce Jones, and if you know his writing back in the '80s, he did like Alien Worlds and Death Rattle, and he wrote Kazar. He did a run on the Hulk. Wrote a lot of stuff for the Creepy magazine. He writes great one and done, really good, like twist ending EC style stuff. And on Conan, that was really nice because Roy Thomas tends to like draw stuff out, in my estimation. Some of his one and dones weren't as tight. I always thought that it is a lost art, Jonathan, and Bruce Jones was really good at it because he did so many stories that had to be done in like 8 pages. Back when he was working with like Corbin and stuff. It really does. Well, I don't think I showed you guys the sketch cover from last time. Let me grab that 1 second. Didn't finish that one on the stream last time, but got it done. I was actually Pretty happy with the inking on Beast here. Had a nice action on the brush there. Hey Jay, how you doing, man? You psyched for Rhode Island Comic Con, Jay? Yeah, like right in here, brush was moving pretty good. Here. Got some decent lines in there. How you doing? Back from D&D. Did you win? Were you slain by an elf? Thank you, sir. I usually hate my work, so when I see even just like a little piece that I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That's a big win for me. I will be doing hey Andrew. Yeah, I know I owe you one. Um, oh, it sucked tonight. Doing any panels at RI? Yes, I will be doing the Making Comics panel, and I got my pal Craig Rousseau. It'll be there. He'll be on the panel, and it's going to be good because his methodology is different than mine, and he's had so many great experiences with licensed characters and his own work. And he has, he worked. We both actually had. I'll be interested to hear because we both had to follow that Bruce Timm style guide at different points, and I really want to hear how he approached it. Um, he has a very wonderfully kinetic, geometric style that it's just got so much Kirby energy to it. Let me see if I can do a better job on the brush strokes here. It's tough on the stream because I usually manipulate the paper a little more because I'm a lapboard guy. The guy who's one of the guys whose brushwork I just always marvel at is Rudy Nebrez, and I've read all about like the no, I haven't heard anything. Um, I should send them an email tomorrow. Two panels. Is it one on Arsenic Lullaby and then one on, like, I don't know, writing for comics or drawing for comics, or do you have to like come up with the programming? Your choice meaning figure it out. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got plenty of stuff that you have expert knowledge on. From a person who's had to be on a bunch of panels over the years for various people dropping off, or no one else wanted to do it type of things. I find that having one that's like really generic, like are making comics as the topic, and I find that that usually encourages more interaction. So, you're Jay. You're always welcome to plug your new book. Don't. This is any of my pals that wanna. If you got Kickstarters, if you got whatever, just throw it up there. I mean, I think most of the people on this stream all know each other and support one another. Like we've always joked, Joe St. Pierre and I have always joked that we kind of like share the same $20 on all these Kickstarters that we do or whatever. We just pass it back and forth. It's like, oh, it's your month to have the 20. Oh, Jay, I talked to the Pats today. I talked to the Brodericks today briefly. They'll be at Rhode Island Comic Con. I think that's a good way to do it. I think, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Pat's great. Both Pats, very nice people. And look, I grew up buying Pat Broderick comic books right off the newsstand. So I will send them an email tomorrow. I will tell them that you need a co-pilot for one of your panels. I also talked to Ralph recently, Jay. I was trying to get him to come to the show, even just to hang out. I was basically like, "Hey, dude, if you want to come to the show, I'll get you a badge or something so you can come." Because he and some of the other guests that are going to be there are old friends, and I don't know how many opportunities he's going to have to see some of them. See, that's a tough line. That one right there, where it's like smooth and then each stroke tapers a little bit. That one takes a lot of practice. A person who is ridiculously good at that line is an artist named Bob Hall, who worked for Valiant and Marvel back in the day. I was sitting next to him at a show. That one right there, those little successive. Klaus Jansen's a master of those. But I sat next to Bob Hall at a Colorado Springs show, and he was banging out these sketches, and he just was flying. And he's been doing this for 40 years, and he just did such a wonderful job. It was amazing to watch when you see someone who's put in so many hours doing it, and it just looks so natural. Um, And I know it's not because I actually have a page of his artwork from the '70s at Charlton when he first started out. And I really like collecting those early pages from before they're famous on books nobody's ever heard of because you can see all those growing pains. Very few artists break in fully formed. Oh, absolutely. I agree, Douglas. Al Milgram, like, there were certain pencilers he worked great with. And one of them for me, of course, is Jim Starlin, but also I always thought he and Ron Frenz complemented each other. And for a company that was considered like old fashioned at the time, because we were kids, and it was not, they were not Image. They had guys like Dave Lapham, and you will never see me not put the little side panel in on the turtle because like that's one of my favorite stories to tell people about my time working on the animated Ninja Turtles stuff. Gotta move my coffee cup. Do you ever do horror stuff like old Tales from the Crypt style? Yeah, I did a book called New England Tales of Terror a few years ago, and I actually did a story called The Gray Lady, and that was actually I grew up around on Nantucket Island, and that was one of the old ghost stories that used to be talked about there. Um, I don't think I have a copy floating around here, but yeah, I like horror stuff. But I think horror has the same thing with comedy where it's like really hard. Yep, and it'll be going off, and then we'll have some speed lines coming forward in front of his face, part of his face. And when I paint it in, I'll leave that part white so that it looks like a white. I might have that page right over here. Let me see. Hold on. This is a Bob Hall page from 1976. This was actually his first published work, and he signed it at Colorado Springs. That was that show I saw it at. But you can see, like, really close up, like these unsure lines where he's still learning the tools, right in here. Still learning. And all of this, like, goes on to where it's, like, really sharp later. Yeah, it'll be coming off this way, the sword. Yep, he's still learning, also like foreground, midground, background. And then here's this weird, like, where the chair is tipping over and going into this next panel where you see his face and stuff. Like, this is the kind of stuff you do when you're learning and you're just thinking of trying to make dynamic panels. And you don't know that it's really upsetting, the reading order or anything. Yeah, I mean, I have pages that look like that from when I was a kid with all those wacky trying to come up with something that, trying to reinvent the wheel. I do too, Jay, and I've continued to push for the more of those comics, but it's not my decision, so. Had an afternoon tea, so I'm a little more awake than some weeks when I'm like really, really tired from working all day. A little more awake. This one, uh, it's a beveled ruler. That means it's got the grid on it, and then it's 2 inches across, and then it's 18 inches long. And I'm able to use it for all kinds of cheats with that uh, built-in grid. There's all kinds of stuff where I don't have to grid out on comic pages anymore because I have it on the ruler. And you can maneuver it with your perspective lines, which is clutch. Because I had to clean the brush this way. And it dries pretty quick. I use Dr. Phil Martin's Black Star Matte. It dries really quick. You can see the blade, the hilt, and then the handle actually, because his hand's like this. He's coming forward and holding it like this. Yeah, I recommend that ink if you like a matte finish. I know a lot of people that like ultra shiny stuff, so that's definitely not the ink for you. If you like a shiny finish, good speedball. I used that for when I used to prefer the glossy finish. And then I give it a spray usually. Um, After I color it with watercolor, like those ones I showed you, like these ones, after I watercolor it, I hit it with the Winsor Newton fixative. And this also has a matte finish. I also tell people whether it's watercolor or if you're selling pencil only drawings, you have to use a fixative because otherwise they just smudge and degrade over time. I actually have a Rich Buckler original that I've had that with Pelican ink, actually, the thick stuff. But in Sumi ink, I have some around here somewhere that I've messed around with. I've never had that issue. Is that something that you're running into? Because I've really only ever just played around with that stuff. Well, do you do it for fun, Norm? I mean, if you enjoy doodling, I always encourage people to, even if it's just a hobby, if it's just something for you to help relax at the end of the day, drawing is a good escape. Drawing, photography, music, like some sort of creative endeavor, it's good for people to have. It's great, man. I mean, I think it's great for people to enjoy drawing as a hobby. And if you draw at work, bring different shoes for the bathroom stall. Nobody will know what you're doing in there or who. Good life advice, Jay. Good life advice. I'm actually not going to break that line. And I actually, I really like watching other people draw on YouTube and stuff. I'll watch, David Finch does a lot of drawing on there. There's a lot of different resources. There's some great videos of Joe Kubert drawing on there, and Neil Adams. You can watch some of the greatest artists of all time draw, and it's just fascinating. I'm so glad people, at different points in time have decided to, commit that stuff to film so that we have it. There's a great video of Jean Giraud, Joe Kubert, and Neil Adams in France doing a demonstration, and they're all drawing and smoking cigarettes in this room, and it's amazing to watch. And they all approach it differently. Like they structurally, they all have similar takes because Neil used a little bit of like the Bridgman look, and I would say that Joe had really like an early cartoonist sensibility because he started when he was so young. Like I started drawing in comics when he was like 15. Thanks everybody for popping in. We got about a dozen folks in here now. For those of you that are new, my name's Ian, and thanks for popping in. We've actually had some new folks the last couple of weeks. We got Norm in this week. We had a young YouTube artist in last week. It's been really, really fun. Uh, and I tell you, I've been finding so many great artists over on Twitter and on Instagram lately. It's a little intimidating, but it's just so exciting. And people that draw completely different than I do. And I'm not sure if I got the scale right on the two hands, but it's close. Because this hand needed to be, obviously bigger than this one. I don't know. It'll be more obvious if I got it that wrong when I color the thing. I always think of the Loomis method. I always think of Gil Kane because of the way he built figures. Doug, do you ever have somebody try to quantify your work by comparing it to someone else, and you're just like baffled at like who they're comparing your work to? Plans for Halloween? Not really. As I've gotten older, I've become. I usually watch just some horror movies and stay in. The day after Halloween is the grown up holiday where you go to CVS and you buy the super cheap candy. Uh, Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just the glutton of the shameless glutton who goes and buys the marked down candy at the store after Halloween. Because I live on the second floor of a building, and there's not a lot of trick or treaters. How about yourself? You got any plans? Anyone haven't doing anything fun for Halloween? Is Halloween? If Halloween's on a Wednesday, I'll be on here. I mean, that's. I haven't even looked at the calendar. I just know that I'm on here every Wednesday. I'm not good at knowing what day it is, if I'm being perfectly honest. I have to set a bunch of alarms on my phone to remind me when important stuff's happening. Let me see if I can get this line. Nope, I missed it. Damn it. Candy helps us play. Yes. Iron helps us play. If you need retweets of Simpsons quotes, definitely follow me on Twitter. um, Dress up as a cowboy and hand out whatever treats I haven't eaten. I think that's a very wholesome way to celebrate the holiday. Pass out the candy to the neighborhood kids. Looks like we might finish this first sketch tonight. That would be great. I try to get one done of each of the 4, and then if I can make time for like Casey and April, I do. I'll have the widest range of stuff I've ever had at a convention at Rhode Island this year. I'll have those CBCS graded comics. I'll have a bunch of pre-done painted pieces. I'll have sketch covers, and I'll have my books. So hopefully, I could use a few bucks going into the holidays. Otherwise, everybody's getting drawings for Christmas this year. Let me see, I missed it. You said Rob Crumb is often his comparison to my work, which is not similar in style, writing, subject matter, or anything. Yeah, I would agree. I gotta only imagine that like maybe that person hasn't seen a lot of independent comics and they've only seen like, Jim Lee's and that like overly slick superhero stuff. Because yeah, now one of the things that I do, one of my little tricks is if you see this line where the motion line is going to be, what I will do is I will light box it to the back so that when I'm going to paint it, I can put it on the light box and see it through the bottom, and I don't have to have that white line show up, on the piece. Like I don't have to outline that. It's a technique that sometimes when you see a piece of mine, if it's a color piece, you flip it like with energy or whatever. If you flip it over, you'll see where I've planned out where the energy will be on the light box side. Actually, I want to keep that line here. And this blue is pretty easy to erase, so. Need to get an S pen. Hopefully there's one here. Otherwise I'll have to use the 0.3. I might have to use that one. Let's see if this one works. See if I got one floating around here. So why when someone asks me why I have so many pens, this one feels pretty fresh. Nice. Found a new one. Look at that. This one should be fun to color in at least. Oh, hello, Desiree's cousin. Thank you very much. Everybody loves the Ninja Turtles. I think so. Everybody except for maybe Bob. See you next week. Thanks, Desiree. Thanks, Desiree's cousin. This is me using a little bit of, cartoonist shorthand to differentiate the textures. I like having the textures with an ink differentiation between before you even color it. When everything is perfectly smooth and the colorist adds all of the texture and separations and everything, I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. So I like being able to tell what's what, before the color goes to work. And that's an old school mentality where like the drawings had to stand up on their own before they were colored, because the coloring process was at one time so archaic, and it's actually the coloring process I've adopted. So it's important for me to really get those variations on paper before we color the things. And I also have to be mindful because there's no use of bleed proof white at this point. Like everything has to be as it is if you're going to go to watercolor. Here's one of those great uses for the beveled ruler. Parallel lines. Does all the work for you. Let me see if I can show you that light box technique. I'll turn the light off. Now here on the light box, you can see where my motion lines are. What I will do is I will just rough them in on the back here, like that, like that. Oh, thank you. We're just having some fun here. And now we can erase what's on this side. And you can still see the slice line, but when I turn the light on, it disappears. So you don't see it. On the final piece, you won't be able to see, what's on the back. And there's going to be some white, like I said, coming down here. So I actually want to mostly black this out. I actually think we should take it all out. When in doubt, right? The old Wally Wood adage. When in doubt, black it out. I actually filmed doing the watercolors on those other pieces. I just haven't had time to make time lapses out of them yet. I'm thinking about having it be white, but we'll start with it at white, and if it doesn't look good, I'll add like lighter colors. Because it's a fun arc. I want to have that motion coming forward. I'm actually going to take this 0.2. This is like the smallest pen that I use. And when you look at close-ups of the old turtle swords, they had like a weave to them even on the toys. So I like to put that weave on there. I don't really have like obviously mine are heavily influenced by the Mirage turtles, but there's little elements from the different versions I've worked on peppered throughout it. That is tonight's trivia. Jonathan has come forward with tonight's trivia that the parts of a sword that are not the blade are called furniture. Obviously, I know the basic stuff like the hilt and things like that, but between Ninja Turtles and Helena, I've had to learn lots of like different poses of swinging and swords and how they work and proper handling. And there was actually a convention, and this is like such a comic convention like occurrence, where I had a picture of it was either Conan or Kull. It was definitely not one of my characters. Just swinging a sword, you know, like at a monster or whatever. And this guy came up and he was like, "Oh, he's holding the sword wrong." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "That's not how you hold a sword." I was like, "Okay, thanks, thanks." It's like, well, I'll fix it on the next one. But this texture here, you'll barely notice it when the paint is on it, but it'll create this nice differentiation. Have I ever done a Last Ronin piece? He did not elaborate, Jonathan. That was a very quick, and I was glad it was not a long conversation. I've actually never drawn a Last Ronin anything. That was the first like big turtle event where nobody asked me to do a cover or anything. So, you know, c'est la vie. Maybe someday I'll do one as like a this is what I would have done kind of thing. Well, I think we have her inked. You know, the next step tomorrow or the next step will be to watercolor this. I might wait for the weekend so that I can get a couple done. And what I like to do is do them in batches. What do we do? The drawing okay? It's okay. It needs a little work. Yeah, there were a ton of covers for them, and hey, it just wasn't an opportunity for me. Um, maybe the next go around. Maybe they've got a whole bunch of new. They've got like a new series spinning out of that, so maybe I'll get an opportunity. So, but until that day, and I thank everybody for coming and hanging out with me tonight. Um, you know, I usually just cut these right along here. I can cut it. Oh, thank you. I've been trying to do before the show because I don't have time to do them at the show. More color pieces. Just cut this baby. There we go. Hey, thanks for hanging out, Norm. And yeah, thanks, Doug. I'll definitely post it when it's done. And everybody have a good night. And thanks again. And I'll see you in a week, I hope. And take care, everybody. Bye.